Good morning, Morning Musings by Melinda. How was your weekend? Is this the first weekend that you were self-isolating, or is this the second, or is it the third? You know, here in Arizona, only 40% of the people are still taking this seriously. And 60% are still going out without gloves and masks and without doing things to protect themselves and others. And judging by what happened in New York, we have to be very aware that we don't want that kind of situation happening here in Phoenix. So we have to start paying attention to all of the suggestions of staying in isolation. And if you do have to go out, to make sure that you are protecting yourself. And I guess this week and next week are supposed to be the ultimate peaks here coming up. And that as a collective, we are very emotionally wounded in this country, watching the news and watching what's going on. And so it's quite an emotional roller coaster. I think we would have to feel like we're on an emotional roller coaster all the time right now, because there are things that we're grateful for and things that are really scary and things that are counterproductive and things that are productive. And we talked about moving out of survival into thriving. We moved Elliot's room into half of our room so that I could have privacy in an office here, because my office, my studio, is in a loft in my house. And so talking to people, Elliot and Bill had to go outside to do their classroom work or to give my clients privacy. So we're getting creative and moved our bed over and moved his bed in and made him a little space in our bedroom and made his bedroom into my office. So are you getting creative? What are you doing with all of this? What's your emotional roller coaster like? It's amazing how the human heart can handle multiple emotions all at once, isn't it? Sadly, there are people who are dealing with a great more than just the idea of being socially isolated. A very dear friend of mine's 6-year-old grandchild lost his battle with cancer on Friday night. And although I never met the child, I would connect to him often energetically and connect to his heart and try to move energy through his little body. And I care deeply for my friend, and it saddened me so much. And the next morning, McKinnon, my son, ended up being admitted to the hospital for emergency surgery through going through the emergency room. And we were very reluctant that he went to the emergency room, but because of his care and consideration, he actually drove himself and got admitted and had surgery yesterday, and hopefully he'll be home tomorrow. We thought that going to the emergency room on Saturday was the best bet, considering that, we haven't hit our peak yet in Phoenix. So my heart had this gamut of emotions going on over the weekend. And when I was sad and crying a little bit, my 11-year-old grandchild just got up and came over to me and hugged me. He didn't say a word. He just came over to me and hugged me. And so my heart did this roller coaster emotional thing where I felt deeply sad, afraid, concerned, all of those things. And then gratified that my daughter and son-in-law had raised such a young man that he knew enough to not say a word but come over and hug me and love, all of those things at the same time. And I think we're all feeling this roller coaster of emotions right now. We're watching other people suffer. We're looking on Facebook and hearing about people who've lost people already to COVID-19. We're reading the news about whole families being infected. We're watching New York suffer tremendously. We are hearing conspiracy theories. We are trying to adjust our attitudes and understand how to behave in a new normal. We're just in an absolute emotional roller coaster. And so I want to say to you that I pulled some things for you about how to behave in an emotional roller coaster. most importantly is to stay in faithfulness, to stay connected to your higher power, to stay connected into understanding that, we are in a situation where we're all living our own karmic profile, that this is a karmic profile on the planet, that we all need to be supportive and kind, that we have to poo-poo some of the nonsense that we see and let it go and not hold on to the silliness. I don't know which is running more rampant right now, the pandemic or some of the negativity and some of the stupidity of some people looking at these things and making more out of it than it should be. So I just, think that it's very important when you have that emotional roller coaster to stay as calm as possible. I love my friend very much. I'm so sorry he lost his grandchild. I wish I could go to him and hug him, but I am hugging him virtually and sending him positive energy. I admire my son's courage. He was in great pain all week and didn't really let us know. And we were surprised when in the hospital he got put on a morphine. He was in that much pain, but he protected us. So that emotional courage, I really admire and respect. So you look at all of the silver linings. And by the way, he was successful in his surgery and will be back home. And so all of those positive silver linings we must continue to observe and to, connect to as our heart flip-flops and feels sadness and fear, gratitude and anxiety, love and purposefulness, determination and hopelessness. Like all those emotions can run through you all at once. So, here's some ideas about what to do when you're feeling like you're in an emotional roller coaster. 1, think before you act. Don't do something rash. Don't do something silly. Don't do something that is out of character. Make sure that you're staying calm. Make sure that you're rationalizing what you need to do. Don't get into a place where you're a victim. Stay a victor through any of this. Understand that we all have a contract with our souls, that we all have our own karmic profile, that we leave the planet and we go directly to heaven. Think about all those things. Consider that bigger picture. That's number 2. Okay. Number 3, change your circumstances whenever possible. Again, we've welcomed you into our home and into our life during this so that you could see, not that we're saying, look at me, I'm Sandra D and all that stuff. That's not what I mean at all, because I would never want you to think that I'm being an ego. I just want you to understand that we too are working at trying to create creative solutions and figure out how to get through this as best we can. And by sharing it with you, I hope it helps you too. Practice radical acceptance. Now, isn't that an interesting concept? You have to practice acceptance of something in order for it to be allowed for. I watched Rick and Amanda struggle with Elliot being here for the duration for quite a while. And then all of a sudden, I saw them go into acceptance. And since they've gone into acceptance and Elliot FaceTimes them, and yesterday, Elliot and I laid on the bed with a book, and Amanda was on FaceTime, and I read a story to everybody. And so practicing acceptance moves energy. Take up journaling, you guys. If you haven't started journaling, please start journaling. It is the purest form of self-care. If you've got negative emotions, write them down. Let it all spill out on a piece of paper. At the end of it, then make a list of what you're grateful for. And then having a journal is not the point. Writing a journal is the point. So you don't have to keep that paper if you've said something. David Konsek, I was just talking about you with Mary. You don't have to keep a journal. It's not about keeping it. It's about writing it down, and then you can shred it in case you say something that you don't want somebody to see someday. That's perfectly fine. Learn to forgive, especially yourself. You're not going to be perfect through all of this. You're going to have emotional roller coasters through everything. Okay? Practice mindfulness. Share your feelings with others. And I don't know whether that just went out. I saw my phone do that. I'm going to repeat that in case you lost that because my connection just went out, okay? So after journaling, I said, learn to forgive yourself and then sit with your emotions. Let yourself feel and then move out of it. Practice mindfulness. Share your feelings with others. And understand that we're all in a situation. I'm going to plug this thing in. Hopefully that'll work. We're all in a situation of emotional roller coaster right now. Help each other, send each other love and positive energy and thoughts, and stay focused on this too.